Hi, it's Rachel with Stirring the Deep. There's one verse that I want to share with you that's kind of interesting, and it's in Deuteronomy, talking about the 10 Commandments of God. And in Deuteronomy 5:16, it says, "Honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, that your days may be long, and that it may be well with you in the land in which the Lord your God is giving you." You know, the Bible is layer upon layer, right? And another layer to this verse is, and the most important aspect, well, as far as I know right now, right, is that your father and your mother represent one. The mother represents the truths. You know, when you're reading in the Proverbs about wisdom, it's always in a feminine voice, okay? And this is showing that side of God, that mother side which establishes the truths, versus the father side that rules by those truths that are established by the mother. So it's showing you the reflection of God's nature, where within himself he creates the truths and then he governs by those truths. And there's a perfection in their purity, as he's showing you by it being two different entities. Because since the female side only creates truths, she can't rule by them. That side of God is pure in how she creates the truths. It's not with corruption, because she can't rule by them. So she has no motive to do that. Where the king side of God, that father side of God that rules and governs by those truths, can only govern and rule by those truths. So that keeps his reign pure. So this is showing an aspect of God and how he's made up that we see reflected in creation. You know, so it's that father, mother. And when you have those working in those ways, establishing the truths, ruling by those truths, there's a harmony there, and that creates peace. Okay, the moment that the person that's ruling is creating, or the one that's creating the truths is ruling, you start inviting corruption. But God's showing us, by those being kind of these separate entities within himself, that it's showing the purity of them, okay, without corruption. And that's what you saw in Adam and Eve, right? Where Eve was a part of Adam, but she came out of Adam, so they're one, right? Because they were made in the likeness of man, but they had those two different roles, right? And so that's what you see is like this. So then you see that in the Proverbs with wisdom, that's this female side that's shown in that female side. Of course, God's spirit, right? He's beyond anything that's creation, but this is how we understand it in those female-male roles. So the female side is that wisdom that you see in Proverbs, that is like establishing those truths, is proclaiming those truths, where the king side is governing and ruling by those truths. Okay, so it's the two working together in harmony. And when you are honoring of your father and mother, you're honoring the truths that are established by God in their purest form. So that's pursuing the things of the Spirit, is pursuing his wisdom. It's honoring his wisdom above the world's. So that means you are not looking to the world's wisdom, mankind's collective thought about what brings, peace and happiness and joy and all those things. Now there's fragments of truth within that, but when it's all mixed in together, it's just full of corruption. So to get to the pure truth, you have to move up to God, into that pure consciousness that I was talking about. So to really honor the mother, wisdom, the establishment of truth, you're seeking that wisdom. Okay? Then to honor your father, you are letting God govern your life by those truths. You're letting those truths govern you and nothing else. So they establish your steps. They direct your ways. They determine your thoughts. That's what reigns in you. So that's what I was talking about. You, even in your spirit, you have those two elements, where you have the spirit that's establishing the truths, and you have, God that's ruling by those truths all kind of happening within you. So there's all these different layers to it, but that's fundamentally a very important part of what that verse means. So because when you're honoring those two things, then your life is amazing. And you can just read that in Deuteronomy, especially like in Deuteronomy 7, starting in verse 12, it talks about the blessings of walking in the ways of God. That's true. His word stands forever. What changed with Christ is that now we can actually walk in the purest of his truth, which is walking in the purest of love, which I wrote a blog about that on Monday. So this is very important to understand, that when you're walking in the wisdom of God and you honor that in your life, that it creates an amazing life, because that's what God wants to give you. He is the perfect loving Father. So that when you walk in him, that's what you get. And and here's the other thing: when you're honoring those truths, then you honor your earthly mother and father in the perfect way. Okay, and we know that everybody has all kinds of stuff going on in their life, and people have had good parents and bad parents and all this stuff. But so how do you honor them in the right way as God desires? Well, if you start honoring his wisdom and his truth, then you will naturally honor them as you should, because you honor everything in your life as you should: yourself, others, and God. But you have to get into the wisdom and the ways of God. And when you start lifting that up above the wisdom of man, and you start walking in that, you start honoring that, then that honor and that love and all that you're learning flows to every relationship in your life. So you know exactly the wisdom that you're supposed to walk in regards to everyone in your life. So this is really the key to fulfilling this verse, is honoring God's truths and letting those truths govern, and only those truths to govern your life. Till next time, keep stirring the deep. It's the one thing that changes everything else.